Alright, so I thought it would be fun today to do a little live hangout and do a healthy grocery haul and show you the stuff that I got at the grocery store today. Now, if you're watching this on the replay after the fact and you want to see these live things and you're like, man, I wish I knew when Sarah was live so I could be there live with her and not just watch it afterwards, then make sure to hit the little bell notification so you get notifications for my videos, because that's the best way to find out when I'm going live so you can be here and hang out with me. So, now we've got that out of the way. Hi, Christina. We're going to be doing a healthy grocery haul today. So I went to the grocery store today because we just got back from VidCon yesterday and we have basically no food in the house because we'd cleaned the fridge out before we left and we needed a lot of stuff. And I thought this would be fun to do today too because it's been kind of crazy for me getting back in the swing of things after our trip. And so this would be fun for me to just go live with you guys instead of doing another video. Hi, Butterfly Planner. And feel free to chat in the chat, ask about anything. I'm going to be showing you the stuff that I got. And I guess we can just get on into the food stuff. And if you have questions throughout, definitely leave those. Also, P.S., if you didn't see my What I Eat in a Day from VidCon, go watch that. That was my last video. If you want to see more food stuff and you like that sort of thing. So, first things first, I got all my bags down here on the floor. We're going to be going through everything so I can show you all the goodies. First thing I got were some blueberries. I needed to buy a lot of produce because I usually get that kind of stuff at the farmer's market, but I missed the farmer's market because I wasn't here because we were on our trip. So I kind of just picked out a few things that I thought looked good. It's a little different than when I'm at the market. I feel like I get a little more variety at the market, but at the store I tend to get just a few things. So I got this nice big thing of blueberries. I think I'll probably just eat these as snacks, put them in yogurt, maybe in salads, that sort of thing. So I got those. And then also in the fruit category, I got some cherries. Cherries are one of my favorite things ever. They're one of my top favorite foods. I feel like my top three are cherries, watermelon, and tomatoes. So I'm excited for those, and those I'll probably just have for snacks and as a fruit with meals. And then let's continue on the fruit theme and go with bananas. So I don't eat a ton of bananas. I like bananas okay. They're not one of my favorite things, but they're a convenient snack. But Jason, my husband, loves bananas. They're one of his favorite things. He has at least one every single day. They're definitely one of his staples. So I got some that were pretty yellow for him. A lot of times he uses those for smoothies. And then I also got a bunch that were pretty green. So hopefully these will ripen up when the other ones are gone. And I'm just realizing that I might run out of space on my table, so I might have to start putting things on the floor or move you guys around a little bit. That'll give me a little bit more space. Okay, so next thing that's on top here in my bag, this is some tea. This is the Numi Organic Green Tea. I love Numi as a brand. I've talked about them a lot. Just really good quality stuff, very simple ingredients, and they have a lot of different varieties. So depending on your taste, there's definitely something there for everyone if you like tea. And I just got this because we're out. We have a few tea bags left, and my throat is kind of feeling, I don't know, scratchy weirdness from our trip to VidCon. I don't know if it's just from like all the flying and getting up at like 3 or 4 in the morning to get on airplanes and that sort of thing. That might be part of it, but I feel like I might need a little bit of tea this week to help with that and get me back to normal, so I wanted to make sure that I had that. Okay, so next thing, let's see. Oh, I got some of the Ezekiel Food for Life cinnamon raisin bread. This is another staple here in our house. Jason packs this a lot of time in his lunch with cream cheese or with peanut butter to have as a snack throughout the day. And let me see. Oh, there we go. There's the chat. White cherries. They did have some white cherries at the store, but I didn't pick those up. But maybe I should get some of those next time. I would really love to have a cherry tree. Y'all know that I love all of the garden stuff. And right now, you know, we're not in our like permanent place. But whenever I get somewhere that I think I'm going to be there for a long time, long enough to grow fruit trees, I would love to have a cherry tree in the mix. And yes, Ezekiel bread is really good. I've gotten their regular, like just basic plain sandwich bread before. I get that if we're gonna need it, but we don't do a lot of sandwiches typically. But the cinnamon raisin bread is good. It's also really good for strawberry cream cheese toast, which y'all know I love. One of my favorite things. Okay, let's see. We'll continue on with produce. I got 2 bags of avocados. These each have 4 avocados. I normally only get 1. I was hoping that maybe we could have some earlier in the week. I don't know if they'll ripen up soon enough, but but I figured I'd get them and at least see because they look like they were kind of close. So maybe we'll have these in the next couple days. If not, I have tacos on the meal plan later this week, so we'll definitely use some for that. And then the others will just, you know, we can always pop them in the fridge and have them for next week if we don't eat them, or to make guacamole for another time. If you haven't tried the Ezekiel bread butterfly planner, it's in the refrigerated section. It's pretty good. I like it. I find that like a lot of bagged breads, they almost have like this gummy texture that I don't really care for. I like the Ezekiel bread because it just feels like hearty. So I think that's like what I like in bread. If I'm not getting Ezekiel bread, then I either want to make it myself or get like a really nice, like, not a bagged loaf, because I don't know. And if you have other types of bread that you like, let me know. But I feel like almost all the sandwich bread, it just has this like gummy texture that I'm not a huge fan of. Okay, let's continue. Next thing up is hummus. This is roasted red pepper hummus. As you can see, this is a big container. This will last us a couple weeks. We won't eat all of this in a week. Jason eats most of this because he packs it in his lunch. He usually takes some sort of veggie in his lunch with the hummus as a dip, and that kind of changes depending on the time of year and what kind of stuff we're getting out of the garden or from the farmer's market, that sort of thing. And then I will have it sometimes too for snacks, things like that. Next up, we'll do coffee. So I got 2 bags of coffee because we're out of both. These are both from Counterculture. They're a brand that I really love. They have great single origin coffees that I'm able to get at a coffee shop that's kind of in my area. But they also have these blends, which are quite a bit cheaper, and they're at my regular grocery store. So I've started getting these as kind of my regular, and then maybe I'll go by that coffee shop and get some of the more expensive single origin ones as more of a treat. That's just what I'm doing right now. It could change, but this is their 46 blend. So this is like a really dark, smoky, dark chocolate, it says, are the notes in this one. So this is good. And then I like to get their decaf, which is called Slow Motion. And this has like cocoa molasses type notes in it. And I like the decaf because I'm someone who's more sensitive to caffeine. So if I have coffee every single day, very quickly I will become dependent on it. And if I don't have it, I just feel like low energy, I get headaches, that sort of thing. So even though I love the flavor of coffee, I know I can't drink it every day or I'm gonna be like hooked on it, and if I don't get it, then I'm gonna feel terrible. And I don't like being in that situation where like I have to have something, and if I can't get it, then my day's gonna be ruined. So having the decaf, decaf coffee still has some caffeine, but it's a lot lower, and I seem to be doing okay with it, so we will see. I haven't noticed any headaches or anything on days when I don't have caffeine, so it seems to be working out pretty well. Okay, next thing, I got some olives. These are the Divina pitted green olives. I like this brand. They are in the refrigerated section at my grocery store. They also have a black olive one, and then they have a mix, which they used to carry at my store. I haven't seen it as often, but the mix isn't pitted, so depending on how you feel about that, I don't really care either way, but green olives are my favorite. We got a question. Sarah, I'm scared to try sugar again. I'm doing 1 month no sugar in tea. Since I'm not a candy person, I don't eat sweet things a lot, but I do drink tea a lot. Okay, well, I would say, you know, you don't want to be afraid of food. That's definitely not something we're going for, and that's not something that I want to encourage. I would say the thing with sugar is people get really worked up about that, you know, we have too much and all this stuff, which is true in a lot of ways. There's a lot of people eat a lot of times a lot of really sugary foods and aren't very mindful about it. They don't get a lot of variety in their diet, but there's no reason to be afraid of sugar. Something that can help some people if you have a food that you're kind of have some food fear around is kind of making like a side step. So maybe if someone, like for sugar for example, maybe if they go to like maple syrup or honey, that can be like kind of a side step for them, which honey is great in tea anyways. That's what I put in my tea. But that's a good example of something that you could try with something like that. And obviously, you know, this isn't personalized advice, but, you know, just some general information for any of you out there who would like some of it. So And as far as coffee goes, I saw someone said that they like to do agave. I really like maple syrup in coffee. And if you've seen a few of my What I Eat in a Day, whenever I have coffee, that's what I do. I just think the flavors are perfect. Okay, next thing in the haul, we have some yogurt. So this is from Maple Hill Creamery. I showed this a lot in videos. This is their plain 100% grass-fed yogurt. And I got 2 of these because I'm not going to be having strawberry cream cheese toast anymore because all the strawberries are gone. I'm probably going to start going back to my yogurt in the morning most of the time. So I decided to get a couple of those to keep on hand. And I'll probably put the blueberries in there, and that'll be pretty good. And Siggy's yogurt, I have not tried Siggy's, and it's something that a lot of my dietitian friends and just dietitians I see online, they all love Siggy's. But I just haven't tried it. I guess because I tend to get the big giant tubs because it's cheaper and it fits better in the fridge. And a lot of the Siggy stuff, I know they do have some bigger containers, but a lot of it's in the individual cups. But I know they have some really cool flavors, and they have different milk fat percentages. I think there's one that's like 8 or 9% that's super rich and creamy. So I would like to try that. Yeah, and then they have the whole milk ones, and they have a lot of different options as far as that goes and as far as flavors. So that is something that I should try. Maybe when I'm traveling, I should grab one of those and try it. We have another question. Can you talk a little or do a video about the high cost of organic, fresh veg, how a family with low income who may not be able to grow their own can be healthy? That's a great question. I do have a video or 2 where I talk about saving money. After this goes live, I'll link those for you after we're done here so that you can see that. And if you're watching this on the replay, then the link should be down there. I have one with a few apps that I use that can help save money here or there. I think the big thing, and maybe I can do a video on this, but I think the 2 big tips are meal planning, so you don't waste food, because you don't, that's, you know, when food goes bad, that's like throwing it in the money in the trash. And I do have a video about meal planning, so if you want to see my tips on that, you can watch that one too, and I'll link that later when we're done here. But that's a good thing, meal planning, and then also just sticking to ingredients. The kind of stuff that I'm showing you here, you'll see I don't have a lot of like organic crackers or cookies, and there's nothing wrong with those foods, but when you're getting the packaged products, you are paying for them to do all that work, and so the value isn't as good as far as the amount of food you're able to get. You do get the value of someone doing all that work for you, but as far as quantity goes, it's a little bit more expensive. So I think if you can stick with whole food ingredients like the stuff I'm showing you here, and also don't feel pressure to buy organic. I mean, I really like organic because I want to support organic growing practices, but stuff that isn't organic, it's totally fine. You know, and you can pick and choose maybe some things you want to get organic, like maybe berries, things with really thin skins, peaches, things like that, and other things you don't. And I think also shopping locally at your farmer's market is another good way to get produce at a cheaper price sometimes, and a lot of times you can get deals and things like that, especially if you go at the end of the market. Sometimes they have stuff they need to get rid of, so those are some things that you can try. Next thing we have is a pineapple. Just because we don't have any fruit from the farmer's market, I kind of went, I feel like I wasn't sure how much to get, and then I saw this pineapple and it looked really good. This is something that we buy occasionally, but me and Jason like to have it, you know, every once in a while. And Jason will probably snack on it the most of anything else. I'll probably put this in yogurt is the main way that I'll probably eat that. Let me see on your comments. Plant-based lifestyles. Yes, we can talk about that. I feel like I need to make a video about that. I've had a couple questions about it, but this may or may not surprise you. I'm a little bit afraid to do it because if you've watched, especially my What I Eat a Days, or if you follow me on Instagram and see my food, you know that I myself am not vegetarian or vegan. Now, I don't have any particular issue with people who are vegetarian or vegan. I mean, you can eat whatever you want, and I don't think there's anything wrong with making your own food choices. But because I'm not, I even know in videos where I just show my food, sometimes I get this like rando person, not y'all, not the people who watch my videos and like know me and all that kind of stuff, but like random person flies in and is like, you know, decides to troll and all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to attract too much negative attention too often, because it's not my favorite thing, but it is something I should make a video about, because it's something that, like, it's complicated, right? Because it's food, and then there's health, and there's also ethical stuff wrapped up in that. So I feel like that's something that I could talk a lot about, and I would want to do a planned out video so I can make sure I say it exactly the way I want to say it. So maybe something to look forward to in the future. Okay, next we have onions. Basic, y'all know what onions are for and how we use onions. Got some crunchy peanut butter here. I eat some peanut butter. Jason eats a lot of peanut butter. Next up, we have cream cheese for putting on bread, mostly for Jason's lunch and maybe me for breakfast. And I see a couple of y'all are commenting, so I'll get to that, but I wanted to talk about more food stuff for the people who are here to see the actual haul. So we've got cheese. This is also from Maple Hill Creamery. This is their mozzarella. I got that to put on pizza when I make pizza this week. And then I got some of this goat cheese, and that will be probably mostly for salads. And then we have some tomato paste. That's also for making pizza sauce. And we have some tart cherry juice here. So this I like to put a little splash in my water, sometimes like in the evening. If I just feel like I want something that's a little bit more than water, you know, sometimes I'll add fruit or herbs or something. Sometimes it's fun just to add a little splash of this, and you know, it's kind of got the sweet sour thing going on, and I really like sour foods. So that's a nice little thing to have. Okay, that's one big bag. I have these big cooler bags that I take to the grocery store. They're huge, as you can see, but you can fit a lot of groceries in them, and then I don't have to bring in 100 different bags into the house. Okay. Then as far as more produce goes, we've got a couple of heads of lettuce here. This is red leaf lettuce. This is for dinner tonight. So we're gonna have salads tonight because we just got back from our trip yesterday. We're kind of tired, and I had a client this evening before I got on with y'all, and I'm on with y'all. So don't have a ton of time to make dinner tonight, so I decided to do something that's a little bit easier. So we've got the lettuce, and then I might go out in the garden too and pick out some of the greens that we have out there, maybe some of the herbs, and you know, some of this other stuff that you're seeing will probably go in there too and make up a really quick dressing. I was hoping those avocados that I showed earlier would be ripe, but you know, if we don't have avocado, that's okay. Let me look at some of your comments now. As far as the pineapple, no, I don't have any cooking plans. It might make its way into a recipe. We'll see how the week goes, but right now the plan is just have it for snacking and breakfast. Oh, I put my hand over the camera. Sorry, guys. I'm doing this on my phone, and, you know, I'm still getting used to it. Okay. Christina says, I love hummus, but I don't know what to eat with it except bread. What do you eat with it? I know I'm a little late. I like it for veggies. That's probably my favorite way. It goes pretty well with any veggies. On toast, it's good too, or pita bread or things like that. But yeah, also if you just want to throw a scoop in, like with a salad, that can be good. Or if you want to make a full sandwich with hummus, that's good. And then also, you know, if you have any kind of like hodgepodge meal where you're putting things together, hummus can be good just to kind of fill that out. Okay, let's go on to some of the more food items, and we'll work through these, and then I will come back and answer some more of your questions once we've gotten through the rest of the food stuff. So, let's see. Not too much in this bag. So I've got some yellow squash here. These are from a local grocer, and these will be going in dinner in a couple nights, I think. I have to check my meal plan to be 100% certain on that. And I love summer squash. Jason isn't a huge fan, but he likes it if it's, you know, mixed up in things. But like, I would just cook up a pan of squash and just eat it like with some onions, and that's it, salt and pepper, and be good to go. And we have some zucchini and yellow squash plants out in the garden, and they are growing and they have flowers. But I got them out there a little late, so we don't have any squash coming out of the garden yet. But hopefully that will be happening soon. Until then, I can just buy it from other people who are growing it very well. Okay, next thing is milk. Now, Jason and I are not milk drinkers. We don't really like milk. With that said, I got 2 half-gallons, and I will explain myself. So, this is from Trickling Springs Creamery. They are kind of regional dairy. I believe they're out of, yeah, Pennsylvania. So they deliver near us, and they are from grass-fed cows, and I got 2 here. This one is just whole milk that's homogenized, and this one is unhomogenized. And this is one of those things, I gotta be honest, I don't know a ton about homogenization. Some people say that it's easier to digest if it's not homogenized. I don't know if there's any really good research on that, or if that's something that bloggers just like to say. So, you know, that's something to look into. Don't take my word on that. This isn't like, you know, something to worry about whether your milk is homogenized or not. I don't think it's a big deal. But the homogenized, so the milk fat floats to the top, and then you have to shake it to mix it in, whereas with the homogenized, y'all know what homogenized milk is like. It's mixed throughout and it just stays that way. I prefer to get this. I don't know why. I just feel like, why not? The unhomogenized, Jason hates it. And he will tell you that. He calls it chunky milk because, you know, the fat floats to the top. You have to shake it up to get it incorporated. But he says, why can't we just have regular milk? So I try to buy some regular milk for him too to mix it in so we can both be happy. And, you know, it's kind of a running joke in our house. I don't think he really cares that much, but it is something that he'll bring up every now and then. And I think it's kind of funny. It's a good joke. Okay, let me see. All right, so I think that's all the groceries. I'll go through and answer some of your comments now. Let me know too in the comments, do you like these grocery haul videos? I mean, this is a pretty big haul for me because we were away. And I, of course, do farmers market haul photos on my Instagram. But if you like this sort of thing, let me know. And if you like live videos, whether you're watching this live or if you do be happening to watch it after the fact, I like live videos. I think they're fun. I really like being able to interact with you guys right now in real time. I think that's a blast. So if you like that sort of stuff, let me know in the comments, you know, what kind of stuff you like, because I want to make videos that are helpful to you and ones that you enjoy. So let me know about that. And okay, let's do some comments. So I already see Jason is cats and pets, in case you couldn't tell. Get that chunky milk out of here. And that is Jason's channel, actually. So he has a cat channel, if you weren't aware, and it's really fun. Our 3 kitties. If you like seeing the kitties on Snapchat and you like cats and you want more cat information and more clips of the cats, go over to his channel, Cats and Pats. It's awesome. I think he's much better at this YouTube thing than I am. He's much funnier than me, and he has a great personality, I think. And I think a lot of other people do too. And he just passed a really big milestone on his channel as far as subscribers go. So go over there, join the party. It's a good time. Okay. So let's see if I've missed anything from you guys. Okay, so Jamie says peanut butter and banana is the fave combination. I agree. Peanut butter and banana go so well together. Jason would agree even more. I think that might be his favorite food, is a peanut butter and banana together. And that's usually what he has for breakfast, is a peanut butter banana smoothie. Oh, I didn't explain about the milk. So I said we don't like milk, but we've got all this milk. Jason has smoothies every morning for breakfast. That's his thing. That's his routine. So even though he doesn't like to drink milk, once you add in the peanut butter and the banana, then, you know, it tastes good. So he does that, and then the only other thing we really use it for is if I make biscuits or something like that. But pretty much it all goes into smoothies, and these have a pretty late date, so we usually don't go through 2 in a whole week. Oh, we also use it in our coffee. We usually don't go through 2 of these in a whole week, but 1 isn't quite enough, so I went ahead and got 2 of those. Okay, and then let's see. CM Coleman Home agrees with Jason. The chunky milk is horrible. Well, you know, to each his own. Also, let me know. I'm using this new setup for the camera. I know it might be bouncing a little bit, so if you see that bothers you or doesn't bother you, let me know that too. Jamie says that love the live videos. I like the questions. Good to know. Yeah, I like being able to interact in real time. Butterfly Planner says this is fun. Love to see the farmers market stuff. CM Coleman, love the live videos. Hauls are great. Jason rocks. Yes, he does. Cats and Pats is awesome. Thanks, Butterfly Planner. Yeah, it's Jason's channel is a lot of fun, so you should definitely go over there. And Christina also likes the live videos and finds the channel really helpful. Oh, I'm glad that you find it helpful, because that's what I want to do. I want to try to make this stuff so, you know, healthy eating isn't complicated, because it really doesn't have to be, and I think so many times it gets overcomplicated, just totally unnecessary. I gotta not put my hand in front of the camera. Okay. What are my feelings about smoothies for breakfast? I think they're good. I've talked about smoothies a little bit before. Personally, I prefer to chew my food just because I think it's more enjoyable. And when you're drinking, I feel like you can kind of accidentally have too much maybe, or not really be able to tell if you've had enough, or, you know, it's just not as satisfying to me. So that's one reason I don't like it. I think it works really well for Jason because he's not someone who really wants to sit down and have breakfast in the morning. He kind of like wants to have a smoothie and more get out the door. So for him, that works really, really well. So I think it depends on what kind of person you are. There is definitely some benefit to chewing because it slows you down and makes you more aware of your food. But smoothies are there's certainly a place for smoothies in this world too. Christina says she buys milk every 2 days. Yeah, a lot of people go through a lot of milk. That's just not us, I guess. But I had a friend in college, my roommate. She would go through like a gallon every single week all by herself just drinking milk. What are my thoughts on goat milk? Nita asks. Goat milk, I think it's great. I don't know that I've ever had goat milk. I've had like goat's milk cheese. It's a lot easier to find like goat's milk yogurts and stuff now too. But I just kind of think it's whatever you like. If you have it available, whether you can buy it or if you have your own goats, then, you know, if that's your thing, I say go for it. Thing with goat's milk is some people maybe who aren't lactose intolerant, but maybe have reduced lactose tolerance. So they can have some lactose, but maybe cow's milk is a little too much. Goat's milk, sometimes they can tolerate. So that can also be an option if you want to have milk. Goat's milk might work for you if cow's milk doesn't work great. Jamie asks, can I talk about my experience at JMU? Oh yes, Jamie had asked me some questions in the past about the program, and Jamie is your top choice. That's exciting. Yeah, so my experience about JMU, I can't remember, because I know we've talked about this if you've seen my video where I talked about JMU a little bit. I love JMU. I think it's great. As far as just overall the school, it's really fun, it's really nice. Everyone's super friendly, it's beautiful, the town is nice. I just really liked the atmosphere there. I thought was wonderful, and everyone's just super friendly, and everyone just feels like they're trying to do awesome things. It just was super positive, and even the alumni. Like, I worked in the catering department for a little bit, and you know, we would cater very basic events on campus, and sometimes there would be events where they're like $1 million donors to the university, and either way, everyone's super nice. You know, you could be serving the table, you know, with these people who are, you know, wealthy people who could, you know, you might think be kind of all about themselves or look down on the 20-year-old student who's serving them their food, but they're always so friendly, like, oh, what's your major? What do you do? How do you like the school? Everyone's just nice. And as far as the dietetics program, I mean, when I was there, it was great. I really like the teachers, and I also like that the farmers market there is great. There's a lot of farms around, so there's a lot of opportunity to just get good food, great restaurants, see some cool stuff. We did a lot of like volunteering on farms or doing farm visits and things like that, and I volunteered at the farmers market when I was there every Saturday. So I love JMU. I think it's a great school. Definitely go visit, but I personally am a big fan. And Jamie says, been obsessed with researching the school and everything about it. You're going to tour this summer. That's good. JMU is James Madison University, for anyone who doesn't know. Sorry if that was kind of like a little inside conversation. It's a university here in Virginia, and it's where I went, and I loved it. Next question. Do you have a favorite breakfast that you eat every day, minus oatmeal with chia seeds? And this was from Christina. My probably favorite breakfast is the yogurt, the Maple Hill Creamery yogurt with some sort of fruit. So I have this is kind of like the base, and then I will add in whatever fruit we have that's in season. So right now it's going to be like berries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, because that sort of stuff is around. Once we get into peach season, it's going to be peaches. You know, in the fall, it's pears and apples. It was, you know, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, pomegranates in the wintertime. So it changes, and then also a lot of times I'll add cinnamon. So with pears, peaches, apples, I'll mix in some cinnamon too, and then I'll throw in a handful of nuts. Most often almonds, because that's just what we've been buying here lately, but you know, if I have walnuts or pecans or whatever, then I might do those too. And then my other go-to has been for the past month actually is the Ezekiel bread that I showed you. So I take the cinnamon raisin, Ezekiel bread, put on, oh, I've got almost everything here. Put on some cream cheese, and this is from Organic Valley. Put on some cream cheese and then sliced strawberries. I've posted that a lot on Snapchat and Instagram. So if you follow me there, then you've probably seen a lot of pictures of that, but now that the strawberries are out of season, no more strawberries. So that's not happening anymore. But that was my go-to for a period of time, for about the past month or so. And Christina's high school is James Madison. That's funny. I actually had someone who went to a James Madison high school and then lived in my dorm freshman year and was at JMU. So I thought that was pretty funny. Best advice for getting accepted to a dietetic internship program? Oh, this is a good question. So there's a lot of advice I could give you. This maybe should be a video too, like a dedicated video, because I feel like this would be a good topic to go into. And I know several of you who watch my videos are interested in going to school for dietetics or are currently in a program. But as far as the quick advice I can give you off the top of my head, I think first off, understand that the match rate, it is very competitive right now. And I think in a lot of ways that's a good thing, because it means that you know, we want dietitians to be the best that they can be. So if it's competitive, that means just anyone isn't getting in who maybe kind of likes this or sort of is into it. But at this point, I think it's so competitive that a lot of people who would be good dietitians don't necessarily get programs. I mean, I know when I graduated, there were several people in my program who were like the people who you knew were definitely going to get matched to an internship, and they didn't. And it was like, what? And they all took the year, they did some work, and they were able to apply and get into one. And I think that does show that they should be dietitians, because even when that happened, they said, I'm not giving up, I'm still going to do this. So if you don't get matched, there are options. But as far as tips, the big thing is having consistent volunteer experience. So doing a little volunteer thing here or there is great. You know, I did a lot of those, kind of go help out with this program, teaching kids about food for a week, you know, after my classes in the evenings or something. But if you can have something that is consistent, oh, Angela says, yes, I've graduated already. Okay, good to know. If you can do something volunteer-wise that's consistent, that's good for anyone who's still in school. When I was in there, I did the farmer's market, and that was every single week. So that was something that showed that, you know, it shows that you're committed to something, you're invested in something, and you're really like working with it instead of just these little things where you pop in and out. Work experience. So if you've already graduated, working in the field is a big thing. I mean, everyone I know, I think, who didn't get matched, they worked, you know, as a diet tech, or they worked in the kitchen at a hospital, for example, and worked in like the food service and managing that. So that's an option. Some people, you can get a job at WIC, because you don't have to be a dietitian to work as a WIC nutritionist. That's women, infants, and children, for people who aren't familiar. And you can work there as a nutritionist, get a job, and do that. And they actually have their own internship program that you can apply to. I think it is somewhat limited, and I'm not sure, because WIC is different in every state. So I know they have that in Virginia. So check in your state. But you can do that, and then if you do get into their internship, you are working still with them, for them, and then also doing the internship. So it's kind of like your job is kind of applying to it, and you're getting paid still. So that's good, because that's one hard thing about the internship, is not really being able to work, and definitely not work at least full-time, because you're being a dietitian full-time but paying someone else to let you do it. So those are a couple things that can help. And I think too, just kind of regrouping and really considering like why you're in this, because I'm not an internship director, so I don't know what they're looking for, but I think you know, if they can really see your passion coming through, that makes a big difference in your letters and stuff. And also, you know, start some stuff on the side. If you want to, you know, start a YouTube channel or a blog or an Instagram account, or, you know, whatever, do those sorts of things if that's something that you're interested in. I mean, don't just do it just to do it, but if you think you'd like to make videos, or you'd like to post on Instagram about food, or you'd like to write about food, do that sort of thing. It shows that you're kind of taking initiative and building something for yourself, and it's just a good experience to have, I think, you know, starting to talk about this stuff, and it can be a good thing for that, you know, internships can see if you're doing a good job of it, and you're, you know, you're showing that you're really into something. I have to be careful with that, you know, because you're not a dietitian. So, and I mean, even with videos in general, like with me, when I'm making a video, you know, the person watching isn't my client, they're just a viewer. So it's not personalized advice, or a substitution for that personalized advice. So you don't want to do that, but just, you know, good general nutrition information if you want to do like recipe videos or cooking tips, that sort of thing. That could be something else to try. Okay, what study materials did I use for my RD exam? I used the Inman's Review. I found it very helpful. It was a little nerve-wracking because everyone told me just do that, and if you go through it and you know it, you'll be good. And I still felt like, no, there's no way this can be good. This, like, there has to be more. And it is a lot, but for me, when I took it, that was a great study guide. You know, I've read through it several times. I listened to the tapes. I made flashcards. I highlighted. I did all that stuff, and I passed the exam. So that's what I used. What is the biggest challenge as a dietitian? What's the difference between dietitian and nutritionist? Some don't get the concept of a person's ethnic or cultural foods. Biggest challenge as a dietitian. Just in general, I think this isn't for me, but I think as dietitians, sometimes it can be hard because, especially if you're working in a hospital, because this is why I decided not to work in a hospital, is because a lot of times the people there, I feel like you can't have the most impact necessarily. I think in the hospital, if you're in the ICU and you're helping people who, have been crazy accidents, the nutrition support, if you're doing tube feeding or intravenous TPN feedings, that can make such a big difference. Things are always changing, and I felt like when I was doing my rotations there, I was really having an impact on these people and their health and helping them get better and come back from these really serious things. But in the rest of the hospital, sometimes it feels like, you're going to talk to this person, but they just had a heart attack and they're just like, not even with you, so it seems like this isn't the right time to talk to this person and give them this education, even though it's kind of the only time, because they're going to go home and be on their own, checking in with their doctor periodically. So I think that's a challenge, is sometimes working with people who maybe aren't ready for the information. So that would be a challenge as a dietitian. As far as the difference, basically anyone can call themselves a nutritionist, but to be a dietitian, you have to have very specific education. So you have to get the accredited degree, you have to do the internship, which is 1,200 hours of supervised practice, and then you have to take an exam. So it's just, and there are certain nutritionist certifications. Some are good, some are not. Really depends, but a dietitian is a very specific and a very intensive amount of education. And yeah, as far as cultural foods, that's something that we study in school. And, like anything, maybe some dietitians pick it up and some don't. Everyone is better in other areas. But I have had people tell me that they worked with a nutritionist or someone and they didn't really respect their culture and the kind of things that they like to eat. And there's no reason that you can't have the foods you enjoy or the foods that you have from your culture and take care of your body. And honestly, you guys see the type of stuff I eat. This is not like every culture has this stuff. It's just fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, meats, dairy, if you can do dairy. It's not complicated as far as that goes. It's just each culture has their own specific maybe foods and their own spices and the way they put things together. But when you break it down, it's all basically the same stuff. So you should be able to eat in a way that makes you feel good in any culture and be able to enjoy those foods. Do I include a person's health to food when helping someone? I'm not exactly sure what that question means, so maybe you can rewrite it. But, when I work with someone, every person, there's a lot of common threads. A lot of times I see things come up again and again that just seem like people just generally need to know this thing, and a lot of them don't seem to. So there's definitely things that I go through with a lot of my clients, but it's also personalized to the person, what specifically is going on with them, what they specifically need help with, and their specific situation too. Okay, Christina says, is it true that you can't eat after 6 p.m.? Interesting to ask a dietitian. Okay, that is not true at all. The don't eat after a certain time thing, wait one second, I'm gonna get some water. Okay, the don't eat after a certain time thing. That is something that you'll see commonly in a lot of diets. And the reason is it's more about just preventing mindless extra eating and also just reducing the amount of food you're bringing in overall. That's why a lot of diets include that. So the idea is, a lot of times people have their meals throughout the day, and then sometimes in the evening, people will find themselves eating food not because they're physically hungry, but because they're bored or they're tired, but they're not going to bed because they're doing something else, and so that kind of distracts them. Or, it's not a physical need for food. It's kind of this extra food on top of everything. So that's why you see a lot of diets do that, and also it just reduces food overall. If you're overeating, if you're having that mindless eating or something like that, then yeah, that food is not food that's satisfying a physical hunger, so that's extra food. But also a lot of times I think that those kinds of like hard lines of 6 p.m. no food, it just doesn't allow for life to happen. Maybe you get home from work late, because I've had clients before who are like, well, shouldn't I not eat late? Or what if I go to the gym and work out for an hour and I come home but it's 8 o'clock and I haven't had dinner and I just did this like hour-long like cardio kickboxing, but shouldn't I not eat? I'm like, no, eat something. You're hungry. You just did this huge workout. You haven't had anything to eat. That's why I don't like those cutoffs, because it doesn't allow for life and just all of the different contexts and the way that things work. It just sets this blanket rule for everyone, like that's just how it's supposed to be. There's nothing about eating later in the evening. As you can see, it is 8:06 right now while I'm recording this, and I haven't had dinner yet. So I'm going to be eating after this. So that's what the deal is with that. Okay, Nita says, what she was asking about health earlier was like people who deal with diabetes, high blood pressure, things like that that are affected by food. Yeah, so that's a lot of what dietitians are trained in, is helping people for eating with specific medical conditions. I will be honest with you, that's not really my passion and what I love to do. A lot of times I will have a client who maybe has diabetes or something like that going along, you know, when they come on, and I'm aware of that. But what I really like to do is work with people to just help them build healthier habits. I like to hopefully prevent some of those illnesses if we can, and then also to help people just build that healthy lifestyle, because I think a lot of times people get wrapped up in diets. There's so much like dieting stuff just around us all the time. Sometimes we don't even recognize it because we just think it's, you know, normal. And so what I really like helping people do is kind of breaking down that stuff, getting away from the diets, getting back in touch with what their body is saying, because our body tells us when we're hungry and when we're full, and it also tells us what we need. Like, for example, we're having salad for dinner tonight. That's, you know, the lettuce that I showed you earlier, that's for tonight's dinner. And the reason that I put that on the meal plan was, one, because of something quick, and I knew I wasn't going to have a ton of time to cook tonight, but also because we have been traveling, and while I find that veggies a lot of times are the hardest thing to get when you're traveling. And while we were able to make some choices, as you saw in the What I Eat in a Day video from our trip, you know, to go places where we could get a little bit more vegetables and stuff like that, still, you know, when I came home, I just feel like a little bit not quite myself. I feel like I need vegetables. I just want a big giant salad. It's just what I want right now. And it's not because I should have it or whatever, like just physically, that's what my body needs, and I know I'm going to feel better when I eat it. So helping people to do that kind of stuff, just to really pay attention to their body, and be able to eat intuitively and all of that. That's what I really love. Okay. We have a video request from Fresh Archie, or Arch, I'm not sure. But can I make a video request, something like quick and easy meals for students? I'm in exam season, and I basically only eat salad and potatoes because I don't really have the time or nerve to cook. Yeah, quick and easy meal ideas. I mean, I feel like if you look at the kind of stuff that I eat, just in general, I did a 5 healthy dinners, like recent favorites video, maybe a few months ago. So if you haven't seen that, go watch. That should give you some ideas. Most of what I eat is stuff that's fairly quick, just because I don't use a lot of recipes. I think though, you said you're doing a lot of salads and potatoes. That's what I did a lot in college, honestly. Lots of roasted potatoes because they're delicious. And I also did a lot of times just cook up some rice, roast up some veggies. Sometimes I just have that. So I would sometimes, you know, do like a different meat in there, something like that. Throw in an egg if you want something quick. That could be a really quick, easy dinner, like some potatoes or rice, roast up some veggies, because that's, you just chop it up, put it in the oven, and you can make a big batch, especially if you're just cooking for one person. Make a big batch, and that could last you a couple days, or maybe even 3 days. And then cook up some eggs, or make like a quick scramble or something. And that kind of gives you a nice balance of different food groups. You can put different herbs and spices on there, hot sauce, whatever, so you can switch it up a little bit. But that's something that's good and quick and easy, especially when you're kind of stressed and don't have a ton of time. Lauren says, thank you. I'm finishing my coordinated program in 4 weeks and preparing for the exam soon, the RD exam. Congratulations! It's so exciting. And awesome that you're in a coordinated program, because you didn't have to even, you didn't have to go through the torture that is internship applications. So I'm envious of that. So that's awesome that you were able to get into a coordinated program from the get-go. Congratulations on that as well. And good luck with your exam. You know, it is intimidating. I mean, I felt, you know, nervous because it's kind of like, you feel like it's like, this is the thing I've been working towards. I'm like so close. But, you know, if you study and prepare, there's a lot of different options. I can only speak to the Inman's review because that's what I did. But, you know, that seemed to work for me. And just trust that you know this stuff. And remember that a lot of the exam, I think, in the exam, it's a test, right? So it's going back to kind of the book knowledge, which can be tricky when you've gone through your internship part where you've been doing the practical real world stuff of everything isn't just like the book all the time. And sometimes there's different situations and you have to, you know, use your professional judgment. But then you're going back to this test, which is a test. So there is no like nuance. It's just like, this is the right answer. It's back to book knowledge. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge for people when going into the test. After coming out of all the practical stuff. But, you know, if you've been through all that, as long as you study, you'll be good, and I am excited for you. And let me know how it goes, because I always like to meet new RDs. So tell me when you pass. Nita, any thoughts on diet programs like Weight Watchers, Atkins, etc.? Generally, I'm just not a fan of diets overall. And when I say diet, I mean anything that sets outside limits or guidelines for what you should eat, how you should eat it, when you should eat it, that sort of thing. I really prefer for people to just be in tune with their body and paying attention to that stuff. And that can be hard because we're born doing that. Like, babies are born just eating when they're hungry, stopping when they're full. Like, you know, they're not eating because someone made them feel guilty or like they should, or they're not eating because they feel like they shouldn't be even though they're hungry or anything like that. So a lot of that, just as we grow up, we kind of lose that intuitive nature, really being able to just pay attention to what we need and being mindful around food and stuff like that. So I really prefer that myself. Every diet program is a little different. Some I think are, you know, worse than others. Some I think do more damage, I guess I would say, than others do. But in general, I'm not a fan of them overall. Christina, my mom replaces sugar with Truvia sweetener. Healthy, or does it make sense to eat that instead of sugar? As far as sugar, like artificial sweeteners, sweetener replacements, I'm not a fan of them just because I feel like it kind of misses the point in a lot of ways. Because I think sometimes, like, sweets are fine. Y'all know, I have desserts. If you saw, you might have seen on Instagram when we were at Disneyland, they had these amazing ice cream cones that were, like, dipped in chocolate and then covered in sprinkles. And I totally got one of those with some cookies and cream ice cream, and it was beautiful and delicious and magical, as it should be at Disneyland. So I'm definitely not, you know, anti-dessert, but I think sometimes we get too much of a preference for sweet. We skew our taste buds that way to always want things to be sweet. And then, you know, something like these cherries, for example, you know, they start not tasting sweet anymore because we're always slamming our taste buds with all this extra sugar. So I do think there's a place, you know, be aware of sugar and all of that. But what I don't like about the artificial sweeteners is instead of maybe reducing the amount of sugar or something like that, if you do feel like you're kind of overdoing it on the sugar a little bit, it's just keeping that preference for sweetness there. And so I'm not a fan of that. But then again, you know, some people like the Truvia or things like that, especially if people have, you know, blood sugar issues or something like that, and they're trying to fit things in depending on if you're counting carbs or if you have diabetes, and you're, you know, that sort of thing. And so people have to be more aware of their carbohydrates. Then, so I understand that, but I personally would rather just have, like, just eat sugar. There's nothing wrong with sugar. You know, you can definitely have it in your life. Just being aware of that. You know, if cherries don't taste sweet to you, or fruit doesn't taste sweet, then I would say that that's something to be looking at. That might mean that your taste buds are kind of skewed towards the sweet stuff. Nita says mug meals for students are good. Yeah, things that you can just do. Like, that's the thing with food. It doesn't have to be fancy, y'all. I love recipes. I love, you know, seeing beautiful food and all that kind of stuff that's like has all of these ingredients and it's complicated. I do like that stuff. But what I'm eating personally more often than not is simple stuff. Stuff that just is a few ingredients, chop up some veggies, you know, get the stuff cooking, and it's not anything, you know, stressful or complicated or anything like that, because, you know, I ain't got time for that, honestly. And I enjoy cooking, but, you know, I just like bringing stuff, putting it together, and not necessarily having a specific recipe that I have to follow. And with cooking, you can do that. It's not like baking. Baking is like chemistry. It's a chemistry lab in your kitchen, because there's all these things that have to interact the right way, and you have to have the exact right amount, or it's not going to work. But with cooking, you're just throwing stuff in a pot or a pan or whatever. It doesn't matter. And the more you do it, you learn too. You learn the kind of flavors you like. So I just kind of do that on the fly, simple stuff. What are your thoughts on high carb and low fat vegan? This is from Jesus. So I think this means high carb vegan and low fat vegan, like together, high carb, low fat, vegan diet. If the thing with saying high carb, low carb, high fat, low fat, people have different meanings. If you're talking about like 80-10-10, I don't know if y'all are familiar, like a lot of the raw food vegans who are doing like very, very high carb, very low fat and protein. I can tell you, I'm not a fan of that, and maybe some people won't like to hear that, but I just got to give you the truth. I'm not a fan of it. And the reason is because, one, this idea that we should be eating only raw foods, to be healthy, that's just not accurate. In fact, there's a lot of benefits to cooking our food. You know, certain nutrients we're able to digest more easily when they're cooked. A good example is lycopene in tomatoes. We can get some when we eat them raw, but cooking breaks open those cell walls and makes it more available so we can absorb more of it. So that's the thing. Also, cooking a lot of times can make food taste better, which is certainly valuable. You know, we don't just eat our food. Food isn't, people a lot of times say food is fuel. It's not just fuel. It's also an experience. It's supposed to, you know, we want to taste it to taste good, to enjoy it with friends, to have a good time. So I don't love that. I just think it unnecessarily restricts food. And it also is limiting the variety in your diet. We need a variety of foods and a variety of preparation methods to really have the best chance at getting a variety of nutrients that our body needs, and to just be healthy long term and have a plan that's sustainable. Something that we can do, you know, for years and years and years, not something that's temporary. And I know there are a lot of people who've been raw vegan for years and years and years. It's not necessary, and I think it can actually be harmful because it is limiting your access to certain foods. And also, like, a lot of the people who are on those raw vegan diets, they live in very warm climates, and I'm sorry, but it snows here, and in the winter, I want a hot bowl of soup. I don't think the best thing for me would be eating pineapple that came from a tropical place. That's not what my body needs in the winter. Now, if you're just talking about not raw, just generally high carb, low fat vegan diets, I guess I just think eat food, right? So I don't think of my diet in terms of it's high in fat or low in fat or whatever. I just get a variety of stuff, and I feel like it all kinds of balances out. I make sure to have some carbs, some fat, and some protein at most of my meals and snacks, because I know that's going to give me the right balance. It's going to give me energy now and make me feel good going forward. And getting those different food groups also gives me access to a variety of nutrients. So I'm not a fan of any sort of counting. So if someone's like really counting what they're doing, or like if people are not eating avocados, or like, man, you really got to watch those almonds because they're pretty high in fat and we're doing low fat, you know, I just don't think that makes any sense. Like, avocados are great. Why would you not have avocados? Or like olive oil. I see people say, well, olive oil is a processed food. It's from pressing olives. I mean, now, obviously, there are some olive oils that are better quality than others, but it's just olives that you squeeze the oil out of. And some people will say, well, just eat olives then. But, and I'm not an olive oil, I don't produce olive oil, so if someone does and I'm incorrect, you can let me know. But I am fairly sure, from what I've heard from people who do make olive oil, that the olives that you use to make olive oil aren't edible. They don't taste good, you wouldn't eat them. They're oil olives, so you couldn't eat them anyways if you wanted to because it would taste gross. So that's somehow we got on that, but from high carb, low fat vegan. But that's what I think. Okay, Nita, can I do a video on different salts like kosher, table salt, pink Himalayans? That's a good idea. I'll have to make a note of that. I would say though, just in general, I always tell people salt isn't a big thing to stress out about. I mean, there are different types and you can kind of get into that. But if you're trying to improve your diet overall, I feel like salt, the type of salt that you're using, is kind of the last thing that you should be thinking about. There's so many other things that you could do. Or if you're trying to figure out how to spend your food budget and you see all these expensive fancy salts, but then you also just see some produce over here. Like, if you have to make that choice, choose the stuff that's going to be the bulk of your diet, rather than the salt, which I kind of think of as like a very minor tweak thing that maybe you do at the end, is generally how I think about that. Which is better, sugar, brown sugar, white cane sugar, agave. As far as brown sugar, white sugar, they're not too different. Brown sugar has just had some of the molasses mixed back in with it, so it's going to have a little bit more nutritionally, but it's not anything to like have a party about. You know, they're basically the same. Agave, I will tell you, I don't think I've ever had agave unless it was in some sort of recipe, like a product that I purchased, so maybe that way, but I've never really used it. It's just not something that I use. I don't think it's good or bad or for anyone or whatever. I don't know if there's really strong research either way about that, and I'm just not very, it's not something that I personally use. So if you want to know that, that's the answer on that one. And as far as like with diabetes, for example, a lot of that is, a lot of times people think of this food is bad for diabetes or this food is good for diabetes. A lot of it is just about carbs overall. Now, obviously, you know, if you do have diabetes and you're working with your doctor and your own dietitian, they may have given you like a eating plan, a way to think about your meals, or maybe a certain amount of carbs you're supposed to shoot for, to make sure, because with blood sugar, you know, we don't want it too high, but we also don't want it too low. We need it in that kind of middle spot, and it fluctuates a little bit when we eat, and our body, you know, brings it back down when it uses that energy. So the thing with carbs is just getting the right amount for you. If you have diabetes, then hopefully you've been given that information from your doctor and or dietitian about what's going to be right for you in your situation. And then it's just about making your food fit into that for the medical condition. But there isn't any food that is like off limits. At least whenever I've worked with people with diabetes, you know, it's just about recognizing that you kind of have choices you have to make. You can't have maybe all of the foods that have carbs all at one meal because you have to fit it in with your carbs. But if you want to, you know, I always told people carbs were like money when I would work, especially when I was doing outpatient counseling during my internship with just patients with diabetes. I always said carbs like money. You know, if you've been given a certain amount that you're supposed to eat because you have diabetes, then you could spend all of those carbs in your meal on just potatoes, for example, or you might, some people like to have peas and potatoes and corn, and you can have all three. You just have to make sure it fits into whatever you've been told is what you need to do based on your medications, if you're taking insulin, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Another question from Christina. How do I understand how much food my body needs to eat? Sometimes I put not enough food on my plate, and after a while I need something else. A lot of it is about practice, Christina. If you've gotten out of touch with your hunger and fullness cues, then it does take a little bit of practice to get back into it. And so I think a good thing before meals is just, you know, pausing and take that time to pay attention. What am I hungry for? How am I feeling? But also, you know, at the end of a meal noticing, am I full yet? And you're not going to get it perfect every time. That happens to me sometimes. Sometimes I eat a meal and I thought I was done, and then I get hungry again. I'm like, oh man, I guess that wasn't enough food for me. But it's just kind of like information I can use to move forward. I learned, okay, I ate this and that wasn't enough. So maybe in a similar situation, I'll keep that in mind. Plus, every day is different too. So maybe what was enough the last week isn't going to be enough today, or maybe it's too much today because the amount of sleep you got was different, or the amount of like mental work you were doing was different, or your physical activity was different, or, you know, there's so many different factors every single day. But it does take a little bit of practice to get back into it. Just kind of working on that and just checking in with yourself. And that's one of those things, you know, you work on it more and more, and the more you do it, the easier it gets, and it becomes something you don't have to think about as much. And then also with physical hunger you feel down in your tummy. That's a good way to think about it. And also, you know, with physical hunger, if you're not sure, you know, sometimes what people will do if they're like, oh man, I can't tell if I'm just like wanting something, if I'm actually hungry, you can always just wait like 10 minutes and see if you're still hungry. And there are some other things, and maybe that's something we can talk about too in another video, like emotional eating versus physical hunger, and how do you tell the difference between those sorts of things. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more questions because we're coming up on an hour here, which is really exciting and super fun. So if you have something you want to ask, make sure you get it in now so I can see it. But I will go through the last few of these. And yeah, okay, so where am I? Right here. Yeah. So we're at Audrey. Thoughts on ketogenic eating style for balancing hormones, losing excess weight. This is another topic I've had requested. I feel like it kind of a lot of times goes along with intermittent fasting. I just did that video. I still need to get in and work on the comments on that because there were a ton of comments on that video. I don't know if or when y'all watched it, but there's a lot of chatter over there now, and a lot of questions and things. So I hadn't been able to get in there as much as I wanted to because we were at VidCon and I just wasn't with my computer very much. We were kind of running around, but that's something I need to work on. Part of my getting back into the groove this week. But ketogenic diets. Like I said, this is a topic for another video because it is long and it's something I'd want to look into a little bit more before I give you, my final thoughts. But in general, again, if you're having to count everything, I'm not a fan of that because I just don't think that's necessary. Now, I do think it's true that, some people feel a little better with maybe a little more carb and some people feel a little bit better with a little less. Depending on your activity, what your lifestyle is like, your just own personal body and genetics and all those kinds of things. There isn't like a right or wrong way to do things. As far as food goes, I don't think, as long as you're getting a balance of things. But if you're going super low carb, I just feel like there's a difference between like our body can do it and is it necessary to be healthy? And that's the thing. I don't think that is necessary to be healthy. I think it's very popular right now. I think people probably lose weight on it because they cut out a lot of foods they like, so maybe they're just eating less food overall. And that's a weight loss that I would also question how long it's going to last because, with diets, people lose weight on all kinds of diets. Every diet out there, there's someone who will say that they feel great and they lost weight and it's the most amazing thing ever. But is that the experience of the majority of people? And what other impacts does that diet have? That's something you have to think about. Mental impacts as well as your just life. If you're having to really be crazy about this food stuff, you really focus on it, that you're not able to take care of other parts of health or, that sort of, it's all of these factors together. We can't just look at just weight loss or something. We have to look at the big picture and also long term. So maybe people lose weight on any diet after they do it for a year or 2 years or maybe even 3 years. But what about 5 years, 10 years? Truth is, with pretty much every diet, people gain the weight back and a lot of times they gain back more because the body is like, okay, we've done this for a while, but I'm not into this anymore. So we're gonna change things. And then the body rebounds, and because the body isn't sure what's happening, a lot of times there's additional weight from where you started. So that's the other thing, is the long-term effectiveness. Okay, Leah, is lettuce important for a healthy diet? Seems like lettuce is mostly water. Oh, Leah, did you ask this question? Because I think I saw this in my notifications, but I haven't gotten into it on another video. So I will, if either you've asked this question on a video within the past few days while I was traveling, or you and someone else are thinking very similarly. So I will answer this written out for you too. But in general, there isn't one food that's like required. Like you don't have to have pineapple to eat healthy, or what other foods do I have here that I showed you guys? You don't have to have avocado to be healthy. You don't have to have peanut butter to be healthy. Any of these foods that I've showed you, it's not like these are the things that are required for health. And that's the same way I feel about my friend lettuce down here. It's not that any one food is something you have to have. And look at people all over the world, have access to different types of foods depending on their climate and that sort of thing. The big thing is just getting a variety of foods. Making sure that you're having some non-starchy vegetables as a part of your life is good. Lettuce, it does have a high water content, but honestly, almost like all food has some water in it. We do get a good portion of water from our food, and produce specifically has a lot of water, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Different types of lettuce might be more nutritious than others. As far as how, like, iceberg lettuce, for example, doesn't have as many nutrients as other types. Look for dark colors, that sort of thing. But, also if you like iceberg lettuce, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't eat it. So if your husband enjoys lettuce, then yeah, I would say do it. But you're saying that he hates salad. Now, I don't know what hates salad means really, because there's so many different ways you can make a salad. So maybe he doesn't like the texture. Is it the flavors? Is it, but he also, no one needs to eat any one food, I guess. Just as a general blanket rule for everyone, or not even a rule, just a thought. There isn't one food that we all have to have or whatever. Just have a variety of things is a good general guideline for most people. Yeah, so if he wants to have other non-starchy vegetables, that could work for him. You know, and I mean, obviously, there's a lot of other factors with anything like this, but no food is a must-eat, I don't think. Stephanie, how do you eat intuitively? I'm currently overcoming an eating disorder. My hunger cues are out of balance. Okay, that's a great question, Stephanie. So with eating disorder, if you're overcoming an eating disorder, hopefully you're receiving some sort of treatment. If not, I would encourage you to do that. Working with, you know, a therapist who specializes in eating disorders, a dietitian who specializes in eating disorders, as well as your general medical team. And make sure they are people who are specialists, because in any profession, there are people who will say that they specialize in this laundry list of things, and they don't really. You know, look for that person who really, like, this is what their practice is about, this is what they do, and, you know, and also, you know, and then as you go through it, you'll find out they're a good fit for you. But that's something, I'm getting low battery. Let me plug in real quick. That's something to keep in mind, is that you want to be working with those people, because they're the ones who can really help you work on this stuff and to walk you through it. Because, you know, if you're coming from an eating disorder, sorry, I almost turned off my phone on you guys. That you need to be working with those people so they can work with your specific situation. Now, as far as figuring out your hunger cues, that's very common from what I know. I mean, I do know some stuff about eating disorders, but I would not say that it's my specialty. But I think I also maybe know more than other people who aren't specialists. So I'm kind of in the middle. But that's something your dietitian will help you with. So a lot of times when you have coming out of an eating disorder, you're out of touch with that stuff. And honestly, with just dieting in general, you're out of touch with your hunger and fullness cues. So that's totally, you know, that's a normal experience to have in your situation. Part of that, when you work with your dietitian, they may put you on some sort of meal plan. And it kind of sounds weird because, like, well, aren't you saying I'm supposed to be eating intuitively and not having a meal plan? But a lot of times that's what's needed in that situation, to be that bridge. Until you can get back in touch with the hunger and fullness cues and learn, you know, what a balanced meal is going to look like for you and all that kind of stuff, because of where you are right now. And, you know, different dietitians do it differently, and also depending on your situation, what your dietitian would recommend as far as what type of meal plan. But they kind of start out guiding you and saying, okay, I know you're in this place right now where it's hard for you to tell, so I'm gonna give you this guideline here. This is what I'm gonna recommend for you as your dietitian. And then, you know, you kind of go from there. And then they'll help you, you know, figure out what you, maybe if you're having trouble with certain food groups, depending on the presentation of your eating disorder and all that kind of stuff, what type of eating disorder, your history, the other factors can help you with that. But that would be the main way, is probably some sort of meal plan that would help you out. Okay. Nita, does your knowledge of food help you understand my cat's nutrition, or is it really different? I feel like it helps me, like, if I'm reading something about cat nutrition, I definitely have a better general understanding of, like, what types of foods have certain nutrients and things like that. But cat nutrition obviously is different. So cats are obligate carnivores, which means they have to have meat. Meat is the majority of what they're going to be eating, because, you know, they're predators and that's what they need. So I know things like that, but their needs are very different from what people need. So, you know, if I couldn't do a nutrition assessment on a cat, but if I, you know, hear, oh, this cat needs this, then, you know, I kind of know what kind of foods that is. So I have some understanding, but I'm certainly not an expert in that. Oh, you're welcome, Leah. I'm glad that you've enjoyed the live video. This has been really fun. And Christina says, thanks for answering so many questions. I love you so much. You're very helpful. Good night. Oh, you're so sweet. You're welcome, guys. I am so happy to be here and to talk with you. I love doing this. It's super fun to be able to talk to you live. Nita, you're welcome too. You said, thanks for answering all my questions. You're awesome. Mrs. Cats and Pats. Yeah, I am Mrs. Cats and Pats, aren't I? So, yeah. Yeah, I love talking. I mean, I love doing the videos, and I love that format as far as edited and then chatting in the comments, but I really do love this live format because it's nice to be able to have these conversations. So maybe we can do these more often, because I would like to too. But I guess we'll wrap it up here tonight, because we've been on here for over an hour now. It's been really fun. I need to get some dinner because I'm very hungry, and I'm pretty sure Jason is hungry as well. But let me know as far as live streams if there's specific topics, or do you like the grocery hauls? I think that's a fun way to kind of start out and then get into some of your questions. Let me know anything about that. And again, if you have gotten to this point and you are here live, or even if you're watching the replay and you're like, man, I want to know when Sarah is live because I want to be here for it. I want to hang out. I want to get my questions answered. Make sure you turn on notifications. It's just the little bell icon under the video next to the subscribe button, and that way you'll get notifications on your phone when I post a video. So, you know, if that is something that you want, if you want to know when this is happening, right when it's happening, so you can hop on here, then that would be for you, and that would be something that I think would be helpful to you and that you would enjoy. So that's it for tonight. I'm gonna put all these groceries away, get some dinner made. I hope that y'all have a great evening or morning or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world and when you're watching this, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, y'all.